Mark Durham, 242-9000.
Justice is your right, and we demand it.
Channel 4 News, coverage you can count on.
Late word tonight, the death of Hollywood legend Katharine Hepburn.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with John Siegenthaler.
Good evening, everyone. Movie great and one of Hollywood's most noted leading ladies, Katharine Hepburn, has died. Hers was a life celebrated by movie lovers around the world. More on her life and accomplishments from NBC's Keith Morrison.
This was the moment Katharine Hepburn first burst onto a movie screen. Just try to take your eyes off her. Can't be done. All angles. Impossibly high cheekbones. The young Katharine Hepburn would take your breath away.
Well, you know that about him.
She was innocent.
I guess all talented people are a bit peculiar. It's part of their charm, really.
And she was serious.
The calla lilies are in bloom again.
She was the Queen of Scotland.
Give me a match.
Yeah.
And she was the Queen of screwball comedy. She was, in her time, brand new. Most women were still Victorian, demure. They accepted the primacy of men. But not her. Not Kate. In her prime, she thrilled at the adventure of filming on location in Africa. On camera, her performance was a tour de force.
I've only known such excitement a few times before.
She married and divorced early on and was courted by some of Hollywood's most intriguing men. And then one day she met Spencer Tracy, and all the rest of them fell away. Their romance burned on for 25 years. Hollywood couldn't get enough of what they had.
Oh, what are you doing?
Testing.
At the end of his life, Katharine Hepburn dedicated herself to Spencer Tracy, not her career. But they made one last film together. Just weeks after completing Guess Who's Coming to Dinner in 1967, Spencer Tracy died. And she, a woman of 60, attacked life again, and against the odds restarted her career.
You're my knight in shining armor. Don't you forget it.
6 decades and 4 Oscars after it all started, she was more than one of the screen's great stars. She made things happen to the culture.
I was born absolutely at the right time. And I'm going to die, not a moment too soon. You know, that's the story of me. Great timing.
Katharine Hepburn, dead tonight at the age of 96. Now, our other top story. In Chicago's Lincoln Park, a tragic accident last night left 12 people dead. A third-floor porch collapsed, sending a crowd of partygoers crashing to the ground. NBC's Kevin Tibbles joins us now from Chicago with the latest on the investigation. Good evening, Kevin.
Good evening, John. 7 men and 5 women were killed here last night. Most were crushed when the third-floor porch simply pancaked down on top of them. And witnesses and survivors alike say there was absolutely no warning. Police and fire officials say it was absolute chaos when they arrived just after 12:30 this morning, with dozens of trapped and injured victims trying to crawl to safety. Their frantic friends yelling the names of the missing.
It was frightening, absolutely devastating.
Disaster struck when a late-night summer party spilled out onto 2 porches at the back of this building in Chicago's Lincoln Park neighborhood. Police say there were between 40 and 50 people on the third-floor porch when it gave way, crashing to the ground, crushing people on the second-floor porch below and the stairwell.
It was really bad to see. You just saw their faces, and then it happened so fast, and it just all of a sudden screams and people running around all over the place, and it was just bad.
There are these guys who are just pulling out wood until like all the firemen got there and just working on getting their friends out.
Many of the 12 dead were found crushed beneath debris in a sub-basement at the back of the building. Of the 57 injured, at least 11 remain in critical condition, most in their 20s, many students who had attended high school together. Angie Desai was trapped for 20 minutes, but escaped with just a broken ankle.
Honestly, I was in shock, and a good friend of mine pulled me out, and from there pulled me into a bathroom.
City officials are crediting a quick emergency response with saving lives.
If it had not been for them going to work as quick as they did and the use of the thermal imaging camera and other devices that they had available to them, we could be standing here talking about more fatalities than we are.
This afternoon, for safety reasons, workers tore down what was left of the structure. The city is investigating whether the porch met building codes. Inspectors are now warning Chicagoans to think twice before celebrating the upcoming 4th of July on their porches.
Please be careful. Please be cautious. The buildings are not made for large assemblies and parties.
The building's commissioner says she put out a warning as early as May about the dangers of having parties on outdoor porches. Now this whole city prays for the victims' families and for the recovery of those who are still in critical condition. John?
NBC's Kevin Tibbles. Kevin, thanks. Now, one neighbor happened to be out walking his dog when he heard the commotion after the collapse and ran to help. Here's Rick Frohmeyer in his own words.
There's a lot of Chicago firemen and police officers here on the scene already, but there were quite a few injured out at the end of the alleyway. So I took a look at the situation, saw that people probably needed ice. I mean, I heard that a structure had collapsed. I figured hands or legs or whatever. People were going to have injured limbs, so I ran down to the corner to the bar and got a number of grass bags full of ice, and then basically take ice and wrap them up in the bandages and then apply them to the wounds. There was a fair amount of blood there. It was folks who had neck injuries, leg injuries, ankle injuries, scrapes and so forth, head injuries. So it was really trying to do whatever we could. Then one young woman who I particularly remember couldn't move her left arm. She was sitting there in kind of a daze, but couldn't move her arm. Certainly there were some people in varying stages of shock. But the tragedy is the lost potential, the lost dreams. These are all folks that are kids that just got out of college or were in graduate school and studying varying majors, etc. Obviously, all the potential in the world, and the world will never see that potential.
Rick Frohmeyer in his own words. In the Middle East today, 3 major Palestinian militant groups declared a temporary ceasefire while Israel pulled its forces out of the northern part of Gaza. While the White House called these developments a step in the right direction, administration officials said there's still work to be done. NBC's Jim Maseda reports from Tel Aviv.
After weeks of intense negotiations, tonight Israeli troops, heavy armor, and bulldozers began to withdraw from the northern Gaza Strip, leaving it in the hands of Palestinians. The deal calls on Israel to pull its forces back to positions it held before the current hostilities began almost 3 years ago. Israel will also open major roads and remove checkpoints that have made routine travel unbearable for most Palestinians. It will lift a travel ban on Palestinian men under 35 and will issue 15,000 daily permits to Palestinians who seek work inside Israel. In return, the Palestinian Authority must assume control and stop any so-called ticking bombs or Palestinian militants about to attack Israel. Earlier today, Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon discussed the pullout plan with President Bush's national security advisor, Condoleezza Rice, in the region to advance a U.S.-backed roadmap for peace. Some Arab analysts see the pullout as a direct result of increased U.S. pressure on Israelis.
Without their understanding that the United States is serious about this, I don't think they'll lift a finger to make the concessions.
Yesterday, Rice met with Palestinian Prime Minister Mahmoud Abbas, pushing the Palestinians to abide by the roadmap and dismantle armed militant groups like Hamas. Feeling the heat, today Hamas and another radical Palestinian group, Islamic Jihad, formally declared a temporary truce.
declared suspension of military operations for 3 months.
Tonight, Yasser Arafat's Fatah movement also said it would stop attacks, but some smaller militant Palestinian factions still reject the ceasefire. If the truce means we lose our weapons, we don't accept it, says this fighter. Meanwhile, Sharon's government remains skeptical, fearing any truce will simply give Palestinian terrorists time to regroup. Still, these are the first real positive steps taken by either side in 33 months of violence. And that, it seems, is good enough for most Israelis and Palestinians exhausted by the bloody conflict. Jim Masada, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
Now to Iraq, where the U.S. launched Operation Sidewinder, the latest attempt to track down the Iraqis who have been targeting American soldiers and to capture other senior officials in Saddam Hussein's former government. NBC's Ron Allen is in Baghdad.
The massive strike began at 2 a.m. this morning. Some 27,000 troops determined to stop an escalating wave of attacks against the U.S.-led coalition. The opening salvo, at least 20 simultaneous raids, targeting a huge swath of central Iraq, just north of Baghdad, through the part of the country most loyal to Saddam Hussein, to the Iranian border, an area the U.S. calls the nexus of paramilitary activity.
The threat's always been there. I think these people are just starting to get organized. It's not safe here yet, but we're going to make it safe. And I want those people to know that.
Hands on your head. Sidewinder follows 2 previous roundups of former regime figures, suspected terrorists, and stockpiles of dangerous weapons. And the operation also follows an especially violent week when 12 American and British soldiers were killed, and the U.S. death toll since the war began rose to at least 200. Today, the attacks continued on the road to Baghdad's airport when a convoy hit an explosive device, wounding 2 soldiers and killing an Iraqi. Last night, attackers threw grenades at U.S. troops guarding Iraq's National Museum. No injuries reported. Today, the chief U.S. administrator here, Paul Bremer, said Saddam Hussein is a big reason the violence and instability continue, because remnants of the regime are threatening Saddam may return, intimidating Iraqis, encouraging them to defy the U.S.-led coalition.
I think the chances of catching Saddam are very high. We will catch him. I think it is important that we do that we either capture or kill him.
Tonight, the first reports from Operation Sidewinder say at least 60 suspects have been rounded up so far. There's no indication that includes any fugitives on America's most wanted list. Military officials say the operation could last several days, and as one commander put it, they intend to use such overwhelming force, suspects won't even think of shooting back. Ron Allen, NBC News, Baghdad.
President Bush is spending the night at his ranch in Crawford, Texas, but the White House has been closely monitoring developments both in Iraq and the Middle East. NBC's Rosalind Jordan is with the president. And Rosalind, any reaction tonight to both of these stories?
Well, John, the White House is referring all questions about Operation Sidewinder to the Pentagon. This is similar to the policy it had during the active phase of the Iraqi war. It's also important to remember that back on May 1st, President Bush said that didn't say that the war was over. He simply pointed out that coalition forces had reached the end of major combat operations. Now, concerning the peace situation, the White House is welcoming news that the Palestinians are declaring a ceasefire for the next 3 months or so, but he said in order for peace to be achieved, there still needs to be a crackdown on all terrorist activities. Without it, there can be no lasting peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Now, there is a sign tonight that the administration is not backing away from its commitment to the roadmap. While she was in the region this weekend, National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice re-extended the invitation which President Bush had given to the new Palestinian Prime Minister. There's no word tonight on whether he has accepted that invitation, and if so, when that visit to Washington would take place. John?
NBC's Rosalind Jordan in Crawford, Texas. Rosalind, thank you. And we'll be right back with more.
You know what I love, Pollen? Allergy medicines that don't last very long.
Yeah, ragweed. They make it easy to make them suffer.
One dose of most allergy medicines doesn't work as long as you want, but just one Allegra 180 lasts up to 4 times longer than most OTC allergy medicines.
Allegra just made life as an allergen tougher.
For people 12 and over, side effects are low and may include headache, cold, or back pain. For your seasonal allergy symptoms, ask your doctor about Allegra.
So when does our Allegra quit working?
Maybe when allergy season's over?
Allegra, the relief goes on.
Grandpa,
Pa, how come you always chug your Metamucil?
Because if Grandpa doesn't drink his fiber fast, he gets thick and gritty.
Mommy doesn't chug her fiber?
That's because Mommy found an easier way to take fiber. Benefiber.
Benefiber?
It never gets thick and gritty like Metamucil can.
So Mommy doesn't have to chug it.
Benefiber's taste-free, too. Mommy can even put it in her coffee or yogurt.
Mommy's pretty smart.
Benefiber. The choice is clear.
Sometimes people bring me more than just their pet.
That's Buddy.
Ooh, and about 100 of his closest friends. And when pets have fleas and ticks, your home and family might have them too. So I recommend Frontline Plus for dogs and cats. It kills fleas fast and lasts longer than any other leading brand. And it kills flea eggs and larvae. Frontline Plus also kills ticks, including those that may transmit Lyme disease. It's my job to keep dogs and cats healthy. Fleas and ticks, that's another story.
Frontline Plus, veterinarian's #1 choice.
Most people become aware of their septic system when they have a problem. You might see puddles in the yard from sewage popping up to the top of the ground. Using Rid X once a month will lessen the likelihood of having the yard torn up. I've always recommended Rid X, and I've never recommended anything else.
Don't we need broccoli? I think I need a haircut.
Kids who can't wait to go on everyday errands?
How are we on gas?
Here's why. Bank One introduces Disney's Visa credit card. The new way to turn your everyday spending into magical Disney rewards. Disney's new Visa card.
You don't know what I had to do to get here.
Only from Bank One.
Monday on NBC Nightly News, Stress and Aging. An eye-opening new medical report reveals how stress can make you old before your time. NBC Nightly News, Monday.
NBC News in depth tonight. A remarkable story of courage and hope. Tricia Miley is the Central Park jogger who was raped and beaten during a run in 1989. 2 months ago, she revealed her identity to the world and today went back to the park, to the place where she was attacked, to run again. Many of the runners who came to Central Park this Sunday morning knew Tricia Miley's story of survival.
On your mark, go!
They called this the Hope and Possibility 5-mile run, put on by the Achilles Track Club, a group that encourages disabled people to get involved in long-distance running.
Some people might say the last place they would expect for you to come back and run would be Central Park, but not for you.
No, I tell you, it makes me feel good to be back here. So many good things happen in this park, like this race today, and yeah, something really bad happened to me, and it was an awful night of violence with, like 7 other people who got attacked. But being here just, to me, shows me how far I've come, I guess, and that just makes me so hopeful.
She has come a long way since that night in April of 1989 when she was raped and beaten during an evening run, later found bound and gagged in the woods, clinging to life. Tricia was in a coma for 12 days and still doesn't remember what happened. Today, 14 years later, she ran by the spot where she was attacked.
I started to think about it, and what must it have been like that night? And I thought, but look at where I am right now. I'm not going to dwell in what happened.
Running has played a major role in her recovery. Nelson Carvalho, a physical therapist, helped Tricia years ago on her first short run after the attack in the parking lot of her rehabilitation center.
It was an unsteady gait the first time she went around. It was only a quarter of a mile. And again, it was in the parking lot, and just on a couple occasions just had to support her under the elbow, just for some general support. But when she finished that quarter mile, it was like she had finished the marathon as far as the sense of accomplishment she had at that point in time.
Since then, she has continued running and healing. Now, with the release of her best-selling book this spring, she's achieved almost celebrity status, answering hundreds of emails and letters from other victims of violent crime. Tricia says it was important to go public with her story and to run in this race in Central Park.
To show people that look at what is possible, and it's in a way to dig right down to the bottom of your soul and say, come on, let's just get out there and move on, and it can be done, and especially with this kind of support.
In addition to working with disabled athletes, Tricia now speaks about her life to groups across the country. When we come back, America's first responders sent a charge they don't have enough money to do their job.
Some paper towels say they absorb a lot, so you may think they work better than Bounty. But with big spills, they don't. They leak. Bounty wouldn't do that. Only Bounty is quilted so it's more absorbent and traps these spills in better, so it doesn't create another mess. Bounty, the quilted quicker picker-upper.
Great. Hi. Okay, got the hors d'oeuvres happening. You want something to eat?
Really glad we came. I wonder if Deb is here.
Hey, there you are. Don't these look yummy? I made them myself. You just have to try one. It'll give you heartburn so bad it'll melt the buttons right off your shirt.
It's different for people with acid reflux disease.
And all that acid reflux may have puckered the lining of your esophagus.
You should ask your doctor about the purple pill called Nexium.
And these are sure to send you home early.
For many people, with one prescription Nexium daily, heartburn goes away and stays away.
And could keep you up all night.
And Nexium Relief goes deeper to heal erosions in the esophagus acid reflux can cause. So you don't just feel better, you are better. Other serious stomach conditions may still exist. Talk to your doctor. Nexium has a low occurrence of side effects, including headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. Don't let acid reflux spoil the party.
Dip?
Relief, healing, Nexium.
Feeling cheated by your old air conditioner? Before it breaks down, assure your comfort with the York Stealth Air Conditioner. Beneath its durable steel exterior lies the York TS compressor, quietly operating in 2 capacities for better efficiency and temperature control. And the all-knowing Comfort Enhancer system, delivering cool air and lower utility bills. Of course, it's just an air conditioner, but you'll think the Stealth is very cool and comfortable.
The couple you chose for today's wedding is Seneca and Chris. Now start planning. Log on and vote for your favorite rings by Tuesday at noon. Presented by Club Wed at Target.
It should have been just an afternoon drive. Lincoria Crawford was pregnant, and with her, her 2 small children.
And racing toward them at high speed. A car thief fleeing from the police. The stolen car crashed into the Crawfords at over 70 miles per hour.
We needed a competent lawyer, so I called Bart Durham.
Call Attorney Bart Durham, 242-9000.
Justice is your right, and we demand it.
Nancy Van Camp, coverage you can count on.
Some frightening insights on America's war on terror tonight. An independent report concludes that the U.S. is woefully underfunding the domestic battle to the tune of almost $100 billion. As NBC's Joe Johns reports, the government doesn't agree.
They're called the first responders, America's firefighters, emergency medical workers, and police, who would be on the front lines in the event of a catastrophic terrorist attack. Approaching the second anniversary of September 11th, a new report says they are drastically underfunded and dangerously unprepared.
If you talk to mayors, to governors, to police chiefs, to fire chiefs, they are just not ready, and we had better get ready.
A task force made up of leaders in business, law, and defense calls for a $98.4 billion increase, 3 times the current spending levels of federal, state, and local governments. The money would pay for improvements to emergency communications, urban search and rescue, public health services, and hospital preparedness, among other things. But the Department of Homeland Security says that number is too high.
I think some of what they are looking at is not exactly what we think are the best ways to spend our money.
The president's congressional critics agree that states and cities need more money.
They certainly seem underfunded, and to me, we've had an awful time trying to get additional first responder support.
Of the money that's already been spent, the report said there was too much bureaucratic red tape and that aid should be focused less on politics and more on areas that face the greatest threat. New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg.
One of the problems is we take the money and try to spread it across the country evenly or in some formula that gives everybody something, and that dilutes the effect of the money.
The report also calls for new standards and guidelines for emergency preparedness in the hope that all first responders will have the right training, equipment, and procedures in the event of a catastrophic attack. Joe Johns, NBC News, Washington.
The FBI has joined the investigation into the disappearance of college basketball player Patrick Dennehy. Dennehy, a junior at Baylor University in Waco, Texas, has been missing for more than 2 weeks. His SUV was found in a Virginia Beach parking lot last week. Police suspect he may have been murdered. People living on the coastline of Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi tonight are bracing for Tropical Storm Bill. The storm is out to sea right now with winds at about 45 miles per hour. It's getting stronger as it gets closer to land. Bill is the second storm of the hurricane season. And we'll be right back.
I'm up, but this arthritis pain.
The moment of choice. Tylenol or Advil? What do you take for arthritis pain?
Advil's the choice for me.
Truth is, only Advil liquid gels give you advanced liquid-filled capsules. Can't get that from Tylenol. Advil liquid gels rush long-lasting relief where you need it, and it's gentle on your stomach.
Oh, that's great.
For fast relief, advance to Advil.
I was born without a shopping gene. You don't hear the laughing, but it's there.
We can stop the suffering.
When Jerry showed me Big Lots closeout shopping, it's like I was opening my eyes for the very first time. Finding that $129 even flow stroller for $79, it was a breakthrough. I said, hello, Bliss. I'm Susan. I was going around the rest of the day saying, hello, I'm a born shopper.
Big Lots. Brand names, closeout prices, happy people.
Who's laughing now?
See you down there.
Excuse me, is there a Bank of America ATM around here?
Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of them. Just around the corner at Field and Griffin. There's another one at the theater. Down there by the post office. Down 2 blocks. 9th and Main. Right by the deli. River, there's one on the west, another one right across the courtyard. You know what? Right across the courtyard.
More ATMs where you need them.
There's one more, right?
From Bank of America. Higher standards.
Most people become aware of their septic system when they have a problem. You might see puddles in the yard from sewage popping up to the top of the ground. Using Rid-X once a month will lessen the likelihood of having the yard torn up. I've always recommended Rid-X, and I've never recommended anything else.
The first major advance for the fastest treatment of athlete's foot is Lamisil AT. Lamisil AT is the first non-prescription medicine proven to kill the fungus with just 1 week's use. Not even a prescription can beat that. Lotrimin AF and Tinactin still expect you to treat for 4 weeks. Who's going to do that? When your feet itch and burn, using Lamisil AT 1 week keeps you athlete's foot free 3 months. Lamisil AT. There's no better way to cure athlete's foot.
A powerful Dateline Sunday. The video you're watching. Shot by a young teen. The man, his dad after taking drugs. Can his son's desperate act force him to quit? My Dad, the Addict. The drama unfolds right before your eyes. Part of the 2-hour Dateline tonight, 7/6 Central on NBC.
MSNBC Monday. They oppose SUVs and also say no to alternative energy. Joe tackles two-faced environmentalism on Scarborough Country. Monday on MSNBC.
Stress and aging. A new medical report. NBC Nightly News Monday.
Again tonight, Hollywood legend Katharine Hepburn has died. She passed away this afternoon at her home in Connecticut. Hepburn's career spanned 6 decades. In that time, she won 4 Oscars for Best Actress. And even with those accomplishments, she once remarked that she hadn't realized her full potential. In 1942, she met her co-star and life partner, Spencer Tracy, during the filming of the movie Woman of the Year. Hepburn was born in 1907 into a wealthy and unconventional family. Throughout her life, she was known as much for outspoken and straightforward manner as for her stellar talent. She was 96 years old. And that's NBC Nightly News for this Sunday. Dateline will have more on Katharine Hepburn. And now here's Stone Phillips with what else is on Dateline. Stone?
Thanks, John. Next on Dateline, GHB. Most people know it as the date rape drug. But tonight, a story on how it can destroy an entire family, told through the eyes and camera lens of a 13-year-old boy who was trying to save his drug-addicted father the only way he knows how, with some tough love on videotape.
Hey, Dad. You're a moron. You're ruining our lives.
This stuff has just stupefied him.
Join us for a powerful portrait of a family in crisis. All in the Family, a Dateline special tonight at 7/6 Central. John?
Stone, thank you. And of course, Dateline will have more on Katharine Hepburn, and there'll be more on the actress's life tomorrow morning on Today. Tom Brokaw will be here tomorrow. I'm John Siegenthaler in New York, and for all of us here at NBC News, good night.
They're families in crisis. Real moments, raw emotions, captured on camera.